Tervist. Good
morning. Gunila actually already said everything he wanted me to say. He wanted me to speak about the foundation, but I would like to speak then about one aspect of our foundation, which also describes why we also only have foreign presenters here today. We all know that Konrad Mägi was an important artist. He had many works of art, and he was born 145 years ago, not far away from here, but he did not have his major breakthrough in Europe. I do believe that today's conference, which only has foreign experts speaking about Estonian artists, is one-off in the Estonian art history, although foreign experts have been interested in our works before as well. And now, speaking about the work of the foundation, we have short-term aims and aims for and within Estonia, but the longer-term aim is that Konrad Mägi, and together with him, other authors of the last generation would be also written to the European art history. I believe that it will take time and we might not see it, but there is definitely hope. With these aims in mind, we have done the things which Gunilla also mentioned, but I believe that Konrad Mägi is an artist whose work has been around perhaps too much for some people even. But our work is not just to open new horizons now, but to compensate for the lack of things which have been undone.
Vale slaid ja algus. See on siis Konrad Mägi sünnikodu.
This is the place where Konrad Mägi was born, and he himself. And 45 years ago, 100th anniversary of Konrad Mägi's birth was celebrated, and a statue was opened, made by Anton Starkov, his friend. And this is the central square of Tartu, where art expert was opening a statue also for Konrad Mägi. His gallery used to be in this house, and you see also that in the 1978 it was for international audience studies. It is written in Estonian as well as in Russian language. Today it is still in the Estonian and Russian language. It's not about the language policy or anything else, but I would say that as times have changed, we should replace this sign or at least include something in English. Eevi Pihlak's monography was also published in this year, but only in Estonian. Short summaries are there in Russian and in English, but that's all. And considering the monographies and according to the character of times, the paintings which are there represent the Soviet print art rather than his own works. And when Estonian state regained independence, nothing much changed, because we not only have English language materials for Konrad Mägi's works, but also for no other artist as well. Needless to mention, we don't have them in Swedish or Norwegian or other languages. So we don't have actually materials to give to foreign curators to have an overview of Konrad Mägi or any other artist. And that's why trying to overcome these shortcomings, things which we have done in Estonian, Konrad Mägi's album was there. We put it together in English, and it should be then there in Estonian as well. The question is now why the Estonian state has not introduced its artists enough, or why Europe has not been more interested in this work. There have been many interruptions. So one of the shortcomings has been definitely lack of money when talking about the Konrad Mägi Foundation. We have spent about 900,000 euros in 5 years. This year alone, 200,000 euros was invested in order to celebrate Konrad Mägi's works as well as anniversary. So it is an expensive activity, it's clear. The second thing is a lack of research staff. It is something we have touched upon, but not enough. There are not enough people to do research on old works of art, and we have lack of interest in the new generation as well. We have asked our teaching staff why it is a problem. Why don't the young people want to research old artists? And the reason has been that the beginning of the 20th century in that respect has not been sexy enough for young researchers. And I told to Nils about it, and he was shocked, saying that actually the beginning of the 20th century art is the sexiest topic at all in the art history. We have also tried to motivate young people to research into Laikmaa and other artists, but it has not produced enough result. And I do believe that we will sense the lack of researchers even more acutely. There's no dialogue, more monologue is there. And there is not enough people to map this uncharted terrain. But I do not want to only criticize Estonia and Europe and not speaking about the lack of some resources we have, but also about the attitudes. I would like to concentrate on how Europe does not want to know about not only Estonian authors, but also others. And how the Estonian state is not doing enough. When starting to criticize Europe, we have to say that this relationship has been controversial. And when talking about the letters of Konrad Mägi, we see how he wants to become French and want to become somebody else than just being Estonian. Several times he's writing about how in Estonia you cannot be an artist at all. In August in 1917, we read how he wants to be rather somewhere else, for instance, in France. In Paris, it's the only place to be an artist. And then being there, he says that he has seen several artists, but many of them are also hungry. But all the artists, even when being are hungry, are believing in a bright future. 1 year later, he writes, then when I work enough, I can present my works here as well. All kinds of nasty works are displayed here as well, but I cannot make my own exhibition if I don't have very good works to present. Then from Norway, he writes that I have an idea to send something to Paris to a spring exhibition when I'm still alive and healthy and when I manage to create something good. In September, he writes again, I regret that I did not manage to be enough time in Paris because I feel like my life is a waste of time here. A year later, when I create something better, I managed to get to Paris to die there. So this is a portrait by Nikolai Triik. So you see how an Estonian artist wants to be and desires to be in Paris. And while being in Paris, it is the only place he wants to be, colonize displaced, so to say. And this is a French landscape we see, and we also see that he changes his signature. He does not write Mägi, but Mägi instead. He also chose Mägi as his signature, and then he was told that this is a company in food industries instead. And then he changes it again. So breakthrough in Paris is something which is difficult, and the problem is not his artworks as such, but attitudes. And Mägi himself comments in December 1907, he writes that the artists in Paris do not consider us as Europeans and remind us that we are Europeans, but they are Europeans, but we are Russians, and we are as old-fashioned as Russians can be. And in the same year, December, he says that when you say to a Frenchman that you come from Estonia, they ask whether you come from Africa. He presents his 3 paintings in the next year in springtime, and He's using Mägi, his new signature, his name, but in the brackets he writes that he's an Estonian, so not Russian. And the Estonian state was established only 6 years later, so this is very remarkable. And you see that we are with 2,000 at M. At the end, it's 6,000 works of art. And despite this situation, we see a review in a magazine which describes the work of Mägi and other artists, saying foreign artists are basing their works on our principles. Some people like them because we see traces of our own teaching in their works. We say that traditions are not interrupting their work at all. Matisse and Van Gogh are their beginning point for their works, which means that they are very sensitive to our novelties, understanding us and also depicting our traits in their works. So we see that in Konrad Mägi and other artists who come from outside of France, they see just a copy of their work. Konrad Mägi, between the two trips to Paris, lived in Norway 2.5 years, and in the spring you see an ad in the Blomqvist art store, a gallery. There is an exhibition. Christian Krock is presenting his works of art, supporter of Edward Munch, and Konrad Mägi is here as well, you see, and Russian, it says in the brackets. The Blomqvist Gallery, it was a very important art gallery. 2 years before, there was a European avant-garde, Pechstein's work were displayed. And when you think that Konrad Mägi is perhaps displaying his works alongside of Edward Munch, a very important artist, it is an important step. This exhibition is also written about in Aftenposten, a large daily in Norway, saying that the Oldebladet as well, saying that Konrad Mägi, a Russian artist, has very colorful pictures, and Morgenbladet, one Russian, Konrad Mägi, shows oil paintings about Norwegian landscape. They are not free of Monet heritage and do not offer anything fresh. Estonian media at the same time reflects only this first article, which was positively written. So Konrad Mägi is displaying his works in Oslo, and but still the reflections are that it's not important, and it's only copying the works of art which are there already in Europe. And in the Soviet days, you see that this attitude was also taken over in the Estonian art circles, and it has political reasons, because in the Soviet days you had to show that Estonian art has been tied to European art historically, that we are part of the art and culture space in Europe, and that's why the parallels were there with the European artists. But nowadays, I believe that we should adopt new angles, but nobody is dealing with this since, as I said, the young generation does not think that it's a sexy subject. I have been talking to older colleagues, and from time to time there have been people coming and interested in the Estonian art history, but this wave of interest which we had where foreign experts came to Estonia and to the Eastern European states in the 1990s has been set aside. And when I went to Ukraine a year ago and I talked to the people there, they also sensed that this ignorance from the side of Europe is remarkable. Why is it so? Sirje Helme, director of the Estonian Art Museum, said that this arrogance by the old civilization is very strong. This is one, of course, reason. Ignorance. Theater No 99 was there, and we went to Germany with the play, and they asked that before staging the play we would speak about what Estonian is and where it is and what Estonians are like. This was 17 years ago in Hamburg. So ignorance is one reason, and secondly, practical reason that Western European museums have too much to do. I talked to a museum director who said that we have so many people offering their works, and we have to select well, and they don't want to take a chance because they want to only exhibit works which are really popular. And when you take an author that nobody knows about from a country that nobody has heard about, it is not enough for an audience to be interested in it. When Konrad Mägi's exhibition was displayed in Rome, our ambassador from Rome got to the point when exhibition was displayed. She was talking about how it was accepted. First of all, the Italian museum said that they don't want to display it. They also refused to take a look at his portfolio of his works. And then they went to the council members, mostly older ladies who had nothing to do, and managed to convince them, and then went back to the director's office, and the director of the art museum did not change his attitude. But when our ambassador mentioned that Arvo Pärt comes from Estonia as well, they accepted to take a look at his portfolio, and this exhibition was displayed in Rome. So it might seem a bit ridiculous, but at the same time it just shows that there is a lot of ignorance around, and there are other alternative ways to get to where you want to. So we might ask why Europe needs to think about Estonian art history at all, since Europe itself has defined itself as a part of the world which empathy is important, also accepting differences. Art history does not accept differences, but just when talking about bad copies of good works, so we cannot speak about art history in Europe at all, but just art history in Paris. Being critical is Estonia's national sport, and Estonian state has not done enough, not only while introducing Konrad Mägi, but exporting culture in general. When Finland became independent in 1917, and Hanna-Leena Palaboski has written that Finland has to define itself as a Western state, and how to do it. You had to create a certain image to the state, and Finland needs to be known for more reasons besides running fast and making good butter, they said. And they concluded that culture should be the thing which the Finns should be known about, and started introducing the works of Sibelius. And they analyzed that they were known, the Finnish, for three things. First, they managed to be known because of Paavo Nurmi and running so fast. The second, Sibelius's music. And thirdly, being able to pay their debt to the Americans. So Finland became the state of great composers, and it was not only an individual initiative, but different state institutions were involved in this image building campaign, and the engines of which were the foreign representations of Finland as well as the ministries. When we take a look at the Estonian Ministry of Foreign Affairs webpage, and we see what Estonia should do in the foreign countries by 2030, it is a very extensive program of 40 plus pages, and 10 pages you see is writing about economy, import and export, and they have one sentence regarding the art and culture regarding the cultural and artistical exchange for having made Estonia or making Estonia well known and making diplomatic efforts through art and culture. This sentence is put down in a very boring way. You almost fall asleep before you reach to the end. So all in all, we say that there is no active policy introducing Estonia through culture. I have met quite some impressive and active people, but they don't also see in the Estonian diplomatic service that their task is to introduce Estonia's culture. We could also ask why Estonian state needs to be engaged into introducing Estonia's culture and art. Sirje Elme again has said that Estonia is becoming a marginalized place in Europe. Here you see Kiev, Ukraine. I have been visiting several times since the war broke out, and this is about a year ago when Kiev was attacked again with missiles and drones. There was a short break in between or before, and I believe it was the second or third morning when drones hit this residential area and people died. And on the same evening, I needed to interview the foreign minister of Ukraine, Mr. Kuleba. We went to a shelter because there was a bomb threat again. No electricity. People were standing in the corridor, and the foreign minister as well. And by that time, the anti-missile systems of Germany did not reach to Ukraine. And I was asking foreign minister, had we had them, would people have survived? And the foreign minister said that yes, it's true. And I asked him again why the Germans have not sent you these anti-missile systems. And he replied that they don't, the German that is, Germans do not consider us as Europeans. Now, a year later, I met Ukrainians again, and the Ukrainians said that they made the mistake that in the 1990s they did not have a plan for state export of culture, and Ukrainian culture was not exported. The Russians took over the art history story and works of art by the Ukrainian artists as well, and presented them as Russian, and defining Ukrainian state through books and music and works of art. Nobody dealt with this. And the reason is that Ukraine now understands why nobody is helping them enough, because Ukraine was not considered and today is still not considered a European state because nobody knows the Ukrainian culture enough. So maybe it is a conclusion which is too courageous or too straightforward, but introducing Estonia's culture and art has also something to do with the security policy, and this is one of the major arguments in today's foreign policy we have. So if people do not know about us, are ignorant about us, Europe is not accepting us, and the question is why should they help us should need be? Thank you for your attention. And now I would like to introduce the next presenter, Timo Huusko.
He's a long-standing friend of Estonian art, and he will now address his topic.